Hello, thanks for checking out my video. Welcome to my channel, Jersey Shore Pondscapes Videos. My name is Chris. We're doing another video here on koi ponds and water gardens and waterfalls and pond filtration and all that stuff. I have a ton of stuff here for you guys. Please check it out. A ton of videos here on this channel. Just about every topic you can think of, okay? And a lot of great information, I know there's something here that'll help you out. So please, check out the videos and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and also check out my website, pondscapesandmore.com. A ton of pictures, videos. I have articles, on there, product reviews on there. You can purchase products, pond products that I recommend on there, as well as learn about feeding and attracting wild birds into your backyard as well. All right, so please check that out. So today's video, we are talking all about basically how to expand your pond. All right, whether or not we can actually do that. All right, what's involved. Now, many times, one of the biggest complaints I hear from pond owners is, I wish I made it bigger. I should have made the pond bigger, all right? Unfortunately, this pond hobby, right, can become quite addictive, right? It's really nice. It's a really enjoyable hobby. So sometimes people start off with just building a small little pond in their backyard, something, 5 by 6. They just want to build a little pond and get started, okay? And that's great from a learning perspective, okay? You start learning about your pond, how to take care of the fish, how to feed the fish, maybe how, put plants in there, how the pumps and the filters kind of work, okay? It's definitely a good experience to get your feet wet, so to speak, right? It gets started. However, what I tend to find is that, in smaller ponds, the plants and the fish quickly start to overgrow it, all right? So we end up with a pond that we built, that we spent, a good amount of money on and time and pride and everything in building it if we did it ourselves, that now is not big enough for my plants and fish. Or it's, I really love this thing. I really, God, I wish I had a bigger one. I could make it, this whole area here would be beautiful. Okay, so that's what I see a lot. Unfortunately, the downside with starting with a small pond is that all the money that you're going to put into that pond initially is probably going to go right out the drain when you want to upgrade to something bigger. You're not going to be able to use a small pump. You're not going to be able to use the same small filter. The pond liner is obviously not going to be big enough to go into a bigger pond. Maybe some of the rock work around, rocks around the pond you can save and keep and use on the new one. Just about everything else is going to be wasted, all right? So just keep that in mind. I did another video a couple weeks back about, what size pond should I build? And I have another video on how deep should I make my pond, okay? So maybe those are two videos you might want to check out and kind of learn as far as, what should I really start with? What size, do I just build a big one? Maybe you have the money and you just want to build this monster pond. And that's up to you, okay? But, sometimes starting off with something small just for the sake of doing something may not be the best idea, all right? Unless you understand that probably in a year or two, in a short amount of time, you're going to throw that all out and do it again, all right? So for me, and I'll just briefly say, for me, a nice size pond to start with is something in a neighborhood of like an 8 by 12, right? 10 by 14, 9 by 14, 9 by 15, something like that. That size pond sounds big, But once you dig it out and you have that pond and you start putting some plants and fish in there, it really becomes a nice size that is manageable, right? And it allows your plants and fish to grow without overgrowing itself anytime soon, okay? It's a really good size to start your pond with. Again, I have a whole nother video on that, and you can check that one out. But I just wanted to throw that out. Now, we have a pond and we want to expand on it. I get that a lot. I get calls from clients saying, you know what, I want to build a bigger waterfall. Or, you know, I want to put, like, my pond is over here, but I want to build another one over here and connect it, you know, with maybe put a bridge over the two. Okay, things like that. Sometimes it's possible. Sometimes I will say it may be possible, but it doesn't make sense, or it's not feasible to do that. Okay, it's not advisable to do that. When we have a pond in the ground and we're thinking, you know what, I want to make it a little bit bigger, so maybe we can just you know, dig it out a little bit more and, you know, add some more liner to it. Okay, now, or have a pond here and I want to build another one here and I want to connect it under a bridge. They make seam tapes for these rubber 45 mil EPDM liners. They make two different kinds of seam tape and an adhesive. So it is possible to seam two liners together, okay, and make one. However, all right, here's the problem. An older pond liner is dirty, all right? It's never going to be clean and like a new liner. So the glues on old liners tend to not stick as well. If they do stick, they tend to not stick as long. Okay, I don't like seaming liners together, all right? The most extensive seam that I've done several years back, I want to say it's probably 8-10 years ago now. We had a large pond, about 20 by 25, all right? Then we built another pond off of that, and we connected it under a bridge in about maybe a 4-foot wide section. And I took the old pond liner and we made like a shelf, maybe about 2 feet deep. The pond is 3.5, 4 feet deep. We did a shelf under the bridge about 2.5 feet deep. I had to keep the shelf because I could not get the old pond liner to go all the way down to the bottom, okay? Because it's already, you know, around the pond. So I had to come down so far and then lay it out and then bring the new one on top, okay? And we seamed them together. I didn't like having to do that, honestly, okay? Because I know there's some risk involved in that. Like, you can't guarantee that that seal is going to be 100% safe for a long time. Okay? However, it's worked, it's done good. I did a heck of a job cleaning that old pond liner off as much as I could, scrubbed it down with brushes. I had to get that clean to make that glue stick. All right. What tends to happen when we're seaming liners together, all right, an old one to a new one or whatever, old liners, or even patching a liner if there's a hole, we have to get that clean, because if there's a little algae coat on that liner, the algae, okay, then we're putting a patch on top of it, the algae absorbs water. And if some of that water absorbs into that algae and that dirt and whatever crap on that liner, and it gets under that patch, the glue's going to get wet and it's going to come loose. All right. So I don't like seaming liners together. Keep that in mind. Okay. Typically, if we're going to make a pond bigger, if we're going to try to connect two ponds, what are my options to just rip it out and put in one brand new piece of liner? Okay, I would much rather do that. Okay, so I look at feasible ways of saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to seam 10 feet of liner together, an old one to a new one. I would rather pull out the whole thing and put in one fresh, brand new, one solid piece of liner. All right. Another thing we need to think about, how old is that original pond? Does it make sense to put a brand new pond liner in on this side and connect it to a 12, 15-year-old liner on this side? All right, we need to think about that as well. All right, what's the integrity of that old liner going to be like? All right, so 9 times out of 10, I got to tell you, when it comes to expanding a pond, it's ripping it out and rebuilding it. We're expanding the pond, chances are we're going to have to redo the filtration system, all right? The filtration system is usually the majority of the cost in the pond. If I have a pond, you know, that's 10 by 15, all right, and I want to make it 15 by 20, all right, I know I'm going to need to upgrade my filter system. So that's going to be my main cost. How much of that upgrade, and if I have to rip half the 3/4 of the pond up anyway to redo it, if not the whole thing, how much more is one single big piece of liner going to cost me than trying to seam an old one to a new one, right? I'm just throwing out numbers. If it's $5,000 in cost to upgrade, you know, the whole pond and make it bigger, well, you know what? It might be $5,500 and you got a brand new piece of liner and a brand new pond, right? So consider that. When it comes to rebuilding a waterfall, making a waterfall bigger, making a stream, adding a stream onto the pond, something like that, that's always possible, okay? That's always possible. If we want to add a waterfall, okay, say the pond does not have one and we need to add one, okay, the only thing what we really need to do is make sure that the pond liner that comes up from the bottom of the pond and it comes up on top of the ground, that there is enough here to lift up and put a new liner for the waterfall over the top. Okay, to hold this up so we don't have any kind of leak, okay? The original pond liner needs to come up, you know, as high as we can and put the new liner down over it and then do all our rock work and start building, all right? So we just have to make sure we have enough liner around the sides of the pond that we can bring it up and put another piece over so it doesn't leak, all right? A stream bed, a river bed onto an existing pond, no problem. We just have to make sure, again, that where this liner comes up from the bottom of the pond, comes up the side, that we have enough to bring a stream in this way and bring that liner down inside there again, okay? If we have that liner from the pond coming up from the bottom and laying flat on the ground and we put another piece of liner from the stream on top, the water's just going to run out between the two out the back, all right? Got to bring it up, bring the new liner over it. So we have to have an elevation for a spill, okay? That's the other thing, we're bringing a stream in, okay? We have to have the elevation on the side of the pond to have that water spill down into the pond. That spill down is important, and then it can run back as long as you want, but we need a little drop. Now the drop can be, you know, 6 inches. It's fine, all right? But we need an elevation change, all right, to bring it in. And keep in mind that with a stream, building a stream bed, sometimes I've had a pond existing and the homeowner wanted to do a stream with a bridge over it and maybe a waterfall back there, okay? So a waterfall, you know, maybe a 15, 20 foot stream bed and then spill into the pond. great. Just make sure we have the elevation, okay? Water has to run downhill, all right? It doesn't have to be a great pitch elevation change, but there has to be a difference from the back to the front, okay? That water's got to run down and off, all right? Yeah, so that's some ideas for you as far as expanding the ponds. Many times, again, to take an existing pond and try to make it bigger, sometimes really common sense wise and even economically doesn't make sense to try to add to what you have. You're probably more often than not better to actually rip it out and rebuild it bigger. You know, do it right. Don't try to patchwork things. Do it once, do it right. Okay, so yeah, I hope that answered some questions for you and helped you out. If you have any other questions or anything, please, post below in the comments. Let me know. I'll try to help you out. I just wanted to give you an insight on that because I go to a lot of estimates, a lot of people's homes, and they have an existing pond and they have ideas of making it bigger or adding a waterfall or something like that, and they just don't know if it's possible to do. So yeah, and typically for me as an installer, only because and I don't want to come off like I'm trying to sell a big job and make more money. Okay, that's not really true. All right, it just doesn't make sense sometimes to take something that's old, right, and make half of it new. All right. You're better off putting your money into something, rebuilding the whole thing, redoing the filter system, rebuilding that waterfall, and making the whole thing one nice unit instead of a patchwork of different things, right? Because eventually all those little things may lead to different problems down the road, right? So thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate your time. Again, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out all these videos I have here. Look at my website. If you need any kind of pond equipment, I have some reviews. I have a bunch of different products on my website that I use, and I have descriptions that are from me. They're not product descriptions from the company's catalog. It's my description of the product, how I've used it and how it's worked for me. So check that out. And you can use my links and purchase things. And thank you for your time again, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.